Hello children. Today we are going to study a topic called the residential status, which is very important for 5th SEM BCom students. This chapter carries around 20 marks in the examination. Okay. So before going to the residential status, let us study the term tax. Tax is charged on the income of an assessee. Any assessee, if he earns income during the previous year, that is from 1st April to 31st March, in the sense 1/4/2023 to 31/3/2024, any income which is earned during that period which exceeds the slab rate, tax slab rate, an assessee will be entitled for tax. Before that, he should be a resident. He should be a resident of the particular country in order to pay the tax. Okay. Now, we need to understand what do you mean by assessee. In a very precise way, assessee means an individual. See, assessee is defined according to the section 2 subsection 7. Assessee is a person by whom income tax or any other sum of money is payable under the Act. And assessee also has been classified or categorized under the definition of person, section 2 subsection 31. This person includes 5 heads. One is individual, second HUF, third firm, fourth company, fifth any other person. In the residential status, in this chapter, we are going to study the residential status of an individual. Residential status of only the individual which we are going to cover in this chapter right now. Okay, now we come to the meaning. Whom do we call as a resident? Whom do we call as a resident? Okay. Resident, basically it states a person or an individual who stays in a particular country for a particular period as prescribed by the Income Tax Act in that particular country. So, how many particular period in particular country for as prescribed by the IT Act. Then he will be called as a resident. Coming to the Indian part. In India, a person who stays for a prescribed period, he will be said to be as a resident. We'll see in detail how many days you need to stay in India to be a resident. Okay. So, we'll go according to the slab. Already I have explained, tax is charged on the income of an assessee. Total income of every person is computed based on his or her residential status. For determining the residential status, assessee are classified into the following category: individual, HUF, firm, company, any other person. Now, whom do we call as a resident? See, it says, it refers to the status of an assessee based on his or her stay in India. How many days they stay, we call them as a resident. Some condition they need to be satisfied. The two conditions which they need to be satisfied in order to be a resident of India, one is the basic condition, the other is an additional condition. Let us see what do you mean by a basic condition under section 6 subsection 1 and additional condition under section 6 subsection 6. Before that, we'll see the types of resident. The types of resident are divided into two. One is a resident, the other is a non-resident. Okay. Now we come to the condition. The conditions are very simple and very easy to understand. Let us go in detail. Okay. Basic condition under section 6 subsection 1. What it says? It says an individual should stay in India at least for 182 days or more during the previous year. The previous year, as I told, it starts from 1st of April 23 and ends on 31st March 2024. In the previous year, how many days of stay should be there? 182 days of stay. or. There is no and, or. Why or? Because if an assessee satisfies at least 182 days, the individual need not go to the second condition, not required. Any one condition it states. Or the second condition B, it states an assessee should be in India for 60 days or more during the previous year and 365 days or more during 4 years immediately preceding the previous year. That means 60 days during the previous year. It starts from 1st of April and end on 31st March that year. Instead of 182 days, we put it as a 60 days. And next, coming to the next year, that means we should leave 23-24. We should start from 22-23, 22-21, 21-20, 19-20. The next coming 4 years, how many days of stay should be there? 365 days of stay. He need to stay at least 365 days. Understood, children? Yeah, we'll recall the basic condition. In basic condition under section 6 subsection 1, it states that a minimum stay should be 182 days. Okay. Or if the individual does not satisfy 182 days or more, then he will move to the next condition where it says in the previous year at least 60 days and 365 days during the next 4 years. That means 60 days in the previous year, it stated that 1/4/2023 to 31st March 2024. The next, coming to the next 4 years, the immediate preceding 4 years, he need to stay at least 365 days in the India. So this is how the basic condition states. In basic condition, if the resident is satisfied at least any one of the basic condition, he is said to be a resident. If a person does not satisfy any of the basic condition, he is said to be a non-resident. So at least one basic condition should be satisfied in order to be a resident of India. Now let us see the additional condition under section 6 subsection 6. In addition, the first additional condition says that an individual should stay in India for at least 2 out of 10 previous year preceding the previous year. Now let us understand what do this sentence mean. This previous year here we are going to ignore it. That is 1st April 2023 to 31st March 2024 will be ignored. The next year from 22 to 23 to up to 2013-14 we are calculating for the 10 years where it says an individual should be there for at least a minimum of 2 years out of these 10 years. This is the meaning. How many years he has to stay for 2 years out of that previous 10 years. Okay, understood. So we are going to calculate from 22-23 up to 2013-14. So this is the first condition what it says. And the second condition, we go for the second condition, what it says is, say an individual should stay in India for at least 730 days or more during 7 previous year immediately preceding the previous year. Again the same thing, the previous year we are going to ignore it, and coming the next 7 years we are going to calculate. Out of that 7 years, the minimum or more than 730 days he need to stay in India. Suppose an individual who satisfy both the additional conditions, he is said to be a resident and ordinarily resident. Suppose an individual satisfy at least one or none of the additional condition, we call him as a resident but not ordinarily resident. Now again we'll come back from the beginning where we see who is a resident, who is non-resident. An individual is said to be a resident when he satisfies at least one of the basic condition and both the additional condition. We call him as a resident and ordinarily resident. If an individual does not satisfy any of the basic condition, we call him as a non-resident. If an individual satisfy one of the basic condition, he become a resident, and if he does not satisfy both the additional condition or at least one of the additional condition, we call him as a resident but not ordinarily resident. Respect to the basic condition as well as the additional condition. In the coming class, we will see the exemption of the residential status, as well as we will solve a few problems related to this chapter. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.